ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Okay, we'll dive straight into the 11th chapter of the 7th canto. This and the chapter is entitled The Perfect Society for Social Classes. So I'm sure in your studies you have already done the previous chapters, but just to recap, so the 7th canto is actually talking, it's focusing on uti. Uti means the inclination, right? And inclination is of two types, it is auspicious and inauspicious. So if you go back to your studies, in the Bhagavatam deals with 10 topics. Perhaps some of you remember atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya manavantrasya anukantha nirodha muktirashraya. So it deals with these different 10 topics, and uti is one of them. And seventh canto deals with mainly with the uti. And in the past 10 chapters, um, um, you've actually seen so uti, like we said, is of two kinds, auspicious and inauspicious. Auspicious inclination towards pure devotional service. Sukadev Goswami has not just Sukadev Goswami, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the past 10 chapters, this has been very elaborately described through the example of Prahlad Maharaj. So, past few chapters, perhaps you've been discussing the story in the past times of Prahlad Maharaj, and it has been the uti towards devotional service, the example of Prahlad Maharaj. You can see it very, very clearly. And now, the last 5 chapters of the 7th canto, Varnashram is going to be described, right? So, in the Varnashram, we may not find pure devotional service, but we will still find mixed devotional service, which is performed according to one's specific inclination to perform activity. Remember in the Bhagavad Gita, when we were studying the Gita, also it says that one cannot refrain from performing activity even for one moment. You know, one keeps continuously performing different kinds of activities. So we can't refrain, and also in the Bhagavad Gita, we've studied that we perform activities based on our nature's inherent nature that we've got, you know, our inclination. We perform activities according to that, correct? So, just dividing the chapter because it's a summary, so we need to be like, you know, focused on just picking up main features from that. So, Yudhishthir Maharaj now has been listening to Narad Muni speaking about Prahlad Maharaj. And after hearing all this, Yudhishthir Maharaj has two questions, right? So this chapter starts with two questions. Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking about Sanatan Dharma and Varnashram Dharma, right? So he's heard about Prahlad's glorious character. He's heard all of that. Now he wants to know about two topics. Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma means the eternal religion of human beings. And that is Bhakti Yoga. The eternal religion of human being is Bhakti Yoga. So Yudhishthira Maharaj wants to know about this. And Prabhupada in the purport, he describes this very nicely. It's in the purport of verse 2, where Prabhupada says, Sanatan Dharma means devotional service. The word Sanatan refers to that which is eternal, which does not change, but continues in all circumstances. And then he says, it is indeed been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. The real occupational duty of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, then Prabhupada goes on to speak more, but we won't go into that detail. But Prabhupada says that even if somebody doesn't want to be the servant of the Lord or serve the Lord, he still is a servant. And many times Prabhupada gives the example, he'll either be the servant of the society, of his boss, at the end he'll be servant of the animals, of dogs and cats, like that. So the point is that eternally, that is your nature. You are servant. You choose to be servant of the Supreme Personality, or you choose to be servant of whatever else. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he's asking this question, and this is a very important point that we must learn as a Vaishnav etiquette, that when we want knowledge or information, or when we are in one sense, um, asking for something from somebody, especially in terms of Vedic knowledge or spiritual knowledge, we are putting that person on the level of a guru, and the right etiquette is to then glorify the person that you're going to be seeking knowledge from or seeking information from. And Yudhishthir Maharaj first glorifies Narad Muni. So he says, because of your austerities and mystic yoga, you are considered as the best of Brahma's sons. No one knows better than you all the principles of religious life and how to execute devotional service. So Yudhishthira Maharaj asks him the question, at the same time glorifies Narad Muni, that Narad Muni, there is nobody who can reply or who can answer these questions or who can satisfy my mind like that. So then from verses 5 to 12, Narad Muni starts giving the answers to this particular question. So Narad Muni starts with the first question, which is, what is Sanatan Dharma? Sanatan Dharma, as we said, is Bhakti Yoga. We read the purport also. That is the most important duty of human beings. That is Bhakti Yoga, right? And when we are talking about Bhakti Yoga, sorry, one second. So in the past, also in Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita, in various places, we have read and heard about Bhakti Yoga, that is the topmost. And there is this verse in the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 6, where it says, Savaipamsho paro dharmo yato bhakte radokshaje ahetuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So that's what Narad Muni is explaining, right? He says that the bhakti yoga to the supreme Lord is in eternal dharma. It's your eternal religion. It's for every human being, anybody who takes birth in this human form of life. Your eternal dharma is to serve the Lord, and that service to the Lord should be unmotivated, should be uninterrupted, right? Um, so when Narad Muni starts answering these questions, also he says that uh, the Supreme Lord Himself, Narayan, He appeared along with Nara in this world through Murti and Dharma. So even now, He is showing through His own example how to perform Sanatan Dharma. So the Supreme Lord Krishna inaugurated this Sanatan Dharma. Not only did He inaugurate, He also enacted, He also said how to perform this devotional service, right? Um, and just this verse 7, which is a very important verse. So I'll read the Sanskrit and the translation line by line. So verse 7 says, Dharma Moolam hi Bhagavan. Moolam. So the Lord is the cause and the proof of Dharma. The Supreme Lord is the root of all religious principles. Moola. He is the mool of Dharma, right? Sarva Vedamyo Hari. Lord Hari is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. And I wonder if anybody remembers this verse from the Bhagavatam, which actually is talking on the similar theme, where Krishna is saying that he's the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Does anybody remember that verse?
15:15.
Would you please recite it, whoever, even just a little bit? I don't know who spoke because I couldn't see the person or.
Sorry, Mataji, I can't.
Okay, that's fine.
Mataji, it is sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto.
Mata smriti
Mata shuchir
ज्ञानम् अपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम्. So even there, Krishna is saying that, by all Vedas I am to be known. I am actually the one who is given the Vedas. So here also, the same thing is being said. Sarva Veda Mayo Hari. Lord Hari is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. And then the last two lines says, Smritam chatad vidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, O king. So, we just read the previous verse where we said that bhakti should be performed unmotivated, uninterrupted for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So, again, this verse is saying that without devotion to the Lord, dharma cannot succeed. Whatever you may be doing, whatever your responsibilities or duties are, without satisfying Lord Krishna, you cannot succeed in that. Correct? Um, so Narad Muni now is answering this, and he goes on to say then, and verses 8 to 12 actually, as part of Sanatan Dharma, it is said that human beings are expected to cultivate 30 qualities to satisfy the Supreme Lord, right? Any dharma that we are performing should be able to, it should enable us to please the Lord. Otherwise, there is no point, correct? I'm just thinking of that verse in the first canto of Bhagavatam. I will not get the Sanskrit straight away. Shrama eva hi kevalam. That's the verse that I was looking for. If you're not able to satisfy the Supreme Lord, if you're not able to realize yourself by performing your dharma, then that dharma is shrama eva hi kevalam. It is just useless labor. There's no point to it, correct? However, in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord, one has to develop 30 qualities, and they are listed in the verses 8 to 12, right? And it says Satyam Daya Tapa Saucham Titiksha Samodama Ahimsa Brahmacharyam Cha Tyaga Swadhyaya Arjavam. I won't go through all the Sanskrit shlokas, but some of the English points I'll just say, truthfulness, mercy, austerity, cleanliness, tolerance, discrimination. We've heard of all these qualities previously also in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So there are so many qualities that are described. Charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, goes on to describe 21 qualities. These 21 qualities are supposed to be assistants in the last 9 qualities, which are the core practice of direct devotional service, right? Now, the 9 qualities, and if I may request somebody to recite verse 22, please. Would somebody be able to recite verse 22? Anybody will have your Bhagavatam with you ready and could recite verse 22? No?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah,
I'm not very good, but I'll try.
that's okay. That's okay.
Shoryam viryam tritas tejas yadas tatma jaya shama brahma yate prasada satyam cha sattva dakshanam.
We couldn't hear you very clearly, but were you reciting verse
22.
sorry, I'm going crazy. Sorry, my bad. It's not verse 22. It is from verse 8 to 12, and I wanted you to recite the last verse, please. The verse 12, please. Sorry.
Yeah. Last verse you said, Mataji.
It's the verse Shravanam Kirtanam. It's verse
Okay.
12.
Yayam.
Mm.
Pravanam kirtanam chasya smaranam mahatam ketah sevajya nati dasyam satyam atma smara
Yeah.
samarpanam.
Marpanam.
Huh.
You see, you have read this verse very recently. If you've done the 5th chapter of the 7th canto, in that Prahlad Maharaj speaks this. It's so similar. Prahlad Maharaj says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. So this is similar to that. See, Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing about the Lord, chanting about the Lord, remembering the Lord and his devotees. So what Narad Muni is saying here is that the first 21 qualities are assistants to develop these 9 core qualities, or these 9 acts, or these 9 ways of performing devotional service, right? So Prahlad Maharaj also has spoken about this already, correct? In the past, in your it was in the seventh canto, 5th chapter, verse 23. 9 processes of devotional service, like that. So 7 to 12, Narad Muni speaks about these particular qualities, that if you have these qualities, and these qualities will assist you in performing devotional service, correct? So actually from verse 13 on, okay, so now we move on. So we've spoken about 8 to 12 verse, we've broken that down, we've analyzed that. Now moving on. From verse 13 till actually the end of 7th canto, Narad Muni is going to describe Varnashram Dharma, right? So this chapter, 11th chapter, describes the 4 Varnas, and the ashrams will be described in the other chapter. So we will just focus today on the Varnas. So from verse 13 to 24, the 4 Varnas or caste is being described. Now, Prabhupada, very often, whenever he spoke about Varnashram, he always mentioned this point that any society, any civilized society, is divided into these 4 categories. They may not be called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, but they are divided into these 4 categories. For a society to function properly, for a society to run properly, there has got to be these 4 different classes. And you will see it all around you, although you may not call it by the same name. Like, let's say that you have an administrative class, who look after things, manage things. They have the Kshatriya qualities, because that's what the Kshatriya does. You have in any society a business minded person, business class, who is, who does trading, who does different kinds of things, so you have that. You have then the other, Brahmana class, you have the Shudra class. So the point here is that these categories, or the society, when it is divided into these four categories, is not there to create any kind of artificial superiority or inferiority amongst the people, because nobody here is less or more than the other. The four classes are just the natural division. And Prabhupada used to use the analogy that for a body, right, you need your head. The head is, let's say, the Brahmana class. You need your arms, to protect yourself. That's the Kshatriya. You need the stomach. Stomach is characters of Vaishya, where you want to do some business, you want to feed yourself. And then you have the legs, which is supporting the entire body. So the legs is like serving the entire body. So legs are doing the job of a Shudra. Now, if in a body, if any of this part is missing, then that body is incomplete, will not be able to function properly. Likewise, in a civilized society, if we don't have these classes, then that society will not function properly, right? And these classes have been made by Krishna himself. It's not artificial. Krishna himself has created this system. And in the Bhagavad Gita verse 13 he says this: Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashah. Very important to understand, it is based on guna and karma, not on birth. Krishna says the four categories of occupations were created by me according to people's qualities and activities, not according to the birth. Right? Now, the problem in society has happened and is happening because people assume that a Brahmana son is a Brahmana, Kshatriya son is a Kshatriya, and like that. It's not anymore based on qualities. And that is where the problem starts. And Prabhupada used the analogy sometimes. He said, just because your father is a doctor, do you become a doctor without even training to be one? You can't, right? You have to study. You have to educate yourself. You have to go to universities. Why is it that a Brahmana's son can claim to be a Brahmana even though he does not have the required qualities of a Brahmana? And we've studied all these qualities. We'll study a little more about these qualities here again. So the point being made by Prabhupada time and time again is that Krishna has created these classes, but they are not based on birth. They are based on the qualities that one has and the karma, the kind of activities that one performs, right? And then it goes on to explain in the verses that how the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they perform various samskaras, based on family traditions and that, and they perform various samskaras, they do different kinds of activities to come to this stage that they're at. And then um, it goes on to describe each varna in detail, actually. So, like, what qualities does a Brahmana have? And there are six qualities that have been giving, like worshipping Krishna, teaching others. You will notice that, in Bhagavad Gita also, when we speak about Brahmanas, what are their qualities? We learn about, teaching, imparting knowledge, getting knowledge, performing yagyas. These are the qualities, or these are the roles that Brahmana plays. Then likewise, we have Kshatriya. Kshatriya also can perform all the other, activities, but a Kshatriya does not accept charity. When you see the qualities of Brahmana, and I won't go into each detail because when you read the verses, they're all there. But for Brahmana, it says that Brahmana can accept charity. Kshatriya does not accept charity. And do you remember in the Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna was not willing to fight, And he said to Krishna that, I would rather beg and live rather than kill these people. And then obviously, then Krishna's, when Krishna started speaking to Arjuna, one of the things was that a Kshatriya cannot beg because Kshatriya cannot accept charity. He's not allowed to accept charity, should not accept charity. Let's put it that way. Not allowed to, no, should not accept charity. But they can perform the other duties of a Brahmana. But the main thing that a Kshatriya does is that um, he is the protector. He looks after the citizens. Of course, he can collect taxes from them because in return for collecting the taxes, he is giving them protection in return like that. So that's the job or the role of a Kshatriya. Then you have the Vaishyas. Vaishyas are the business class. Um, the Vaishyas should follow the directions of the Brahmanas, or take instructions from the Brahmanas, and they should do agriculture. Prabhupada always said this: go raksha, cow protection, and trading. So business. That's what a Vaishya does. And then the Shudras. Shudra will accept a master from any of the higher social order and serve him, to earn livelihood. That's what a Shudra does. So these are the roles that each class uh, plays in society. And by having this kind of society, and by then all of them working towards just one goal, which is eventually to realize oneself and to become devotees of the Lord. If you see, in Vedic times, everybody performed their specific roles, which was the varnashram dharma, but were all aware of the Sanatan Dharma, which is the eternal Dharma of being devotees of the Lord. Right? Right. Um, and then verse 16 goes on to describe 4 alternative duties for Brahmana. So sometimes a Brahmana may also perform the duty of, agriculture, cow protection, or trade, all of that. Sometimes he may also Brahmanas anyways live on charity, so they have to, they don't uh, uh, they generally don't go into businesses or whatever. They tend to live on charity, begging. So sometimes, like, the only time that they might go into, like, farming, and that is sometimes Brahmanas are offered land and cow in charity. So when he's offered land and cow in charity, then for his livelihood, he may act in the same way as a Vaishya. By, he's cultivating the land and he's doing that. However, in Vedic times, it would be most likely the Brahmanas would rather uh, either beg for leftover paddy from paddy fields, or would go and collect the grains when after the harvesting has been done, and that way, fulfill his needs like that. Verses 17 to 20 speak about emergency duties. Would somebody please read verse 17 if you have it readily available? If anybody has the verse 17 on your pages.
Read. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Okay, translation. Text 17, chapter 7, sorry, Canto 7, chapter 11, yeah?
Yes, please, yes.
Hare Krishna. Except in time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but a Kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others. Hare
So,
Krishna.
thank you so much. So, when there is apatkalin, means emergency situations. Apatu, it says in the Sanskrit word, it says when there is an emergency, it's okay for people to perform other activities, right? So in emergency, one may do other things, but a Kshatriya, even during emergency, will not take on the livelihood of others. The others can, like Brahmanas can, Shudras can, and Vaishya can, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what. So verses 18 to 20 is generally talking about that. See, this chapter is talking about varnashram. So obviously, it is going into more and more detail of, what is the role of a brahmana, kshatriya, what are their qualities, what are their occupations. So it goes more and more into details of all of these things, right? Of course, Prabhupada said that in Kali Yuga, everybody is born a Shudra. Prabhupada very often used to say that everybody is born a Shudra, and therefore Krishna consciousness is being taken up and being established. And Prabhupada very often would say that Krishna consciousness is to make Brahmanas out of these Shudras. So we are training people to become Brahmanas because everybody is born a Shudra, right? Okay, verses 21 to 24 discuss the symptoms of the four varnas. So again, these are quite, in one sense, repeated from Bhagavad Gita. We have studied all of these in the Bhagavad Gita also, but we will just go through again some of the qualities of these four varnas. I won't read all of them, but just a few of them, just so we recollect, because we've done this previously. So the symptoms of a Brahmana is that he has sense control, he is austere, clean, he's satisfied, there is forgiveness, there is no argument, he doesn't get into fighting, simplicity, he's merciful, compassionate, of course he's got the knowledge and he should share the knowledge also. He's completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. These are the qualities of a Brahmana, correct? Then we have symptoms of a Kshatriya. Kshatriya obviously is very brave. He can go and fight in battle. He has this challenging nature. He is charitable. He is forgiving. Truthful. Um, uh, uh, Compassionate in terms of towards his citizens. He feels responsible. Many times we've heard that a king is almost like a father to his citizens. Everybody who is in his kingdom, he looks after them as if like how a father would look after his children, like that. Then Vaishyas are devoted to demigods. There is a lot of devotion to demigods in the Vaishya class. Um, we see this in the pastime of Nanda Maharaj. Remember when Nanda Maharaj was going to perform yajna for Indra? Now, the Vaishyas are obviously dependent on demigods for, various things. They are performing, they are doing agriculture, they have cows, the cows need grass, for agriculture, they need good weather, season, rains, all of that. So they perform different kind of yajnas to the demigods. So they are devoted to demigods like that. They are also, they're also devoted, of course, to Lord Vishnu. They do endeavor for advancing in dharma, artha, kama, like that, to reach the stage of moksha, like that. And then it says the last sentence of that verse 23 says, and I'll just speak in Sanskrit and then English. It says, Naipunyam Vaishya Lakshanam. So they are expertise in earning money. These are the symptoms of a Vaishya. Now, when we go through these symptoms, you will, it's nice to introspect and think about these things. Many a times, we talk about, and we get very defensive about this, this class and this, oh, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. But if you think about it, it is natural. You yourself can class yourself in a particular, you can say that, okay, I have tendencies of a Kshatriya, or I have tendencies of a Shudra. And you will say that. If you're honest to yourself, you will say that. You can see it. So it's not artificial, it's not unnatural, it's naturally created, because that's how your propensity is. And then the symptoms of a Shudra is that He's obedient to the other classes, he serves his master without duplicity. There is no cheating. He doesn't want to steal from his master. He's very loyal to his master. And he's happy because that is how there is a give and take relationship. He's serving his masters and the masters are looking after him. And so he's happy. However, in our scriptures, it is very clear that, and again we are talking about that one doesn't become a Kshatriya or a Brahmana by birth. So even if he is a Kshatriya, but if he has the qualities of another Varna, he is accepted as that. For example, in the previous cantos, we studied about Rishabdev. I think it was the fifth canto, if I'm not mistaken. Rishabdev has got 100 sons. Now, Rishabdev is a king. He's a Kshatriya, correct? He has 100 sons, but not all of his sons become Kshatriyas, correct? Very few of his sons are actually Kshatriyas, I think 10, and the other are Brahmanas, like that. So it's not that because one is born, again, time and time again, we are reiterating the fact that you don't become a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra by birth. You become one by your activity or by your nature. So by your karma, by your propensity to perform whatever activities, like that. Okay. Okay, so verses 25 to 29, then Narad Muni is describing the duties of a chaste wife, correct? Now, this can be a slightly, controversial topic. Oh, what are we talking about here? And what does this mean? And should this be this and this? Now, we're talking about, the Vedic times. This is how a chaste or an ideal lady is described. That doesn't mean that there is no rules and regulations for an ideal man. Where they say where there is Lakshmi, there has got to be Vishnu. Where there is Parvati, there's Shankar. You won't have one besides the other, but we'll just look at some of the duties that are described for a chaste wife. Okay, there are quite a few, and I don't think we'll go through all of them, but we'll just, I'll just give some of the duties. It says to serve the husband with love and affection, to control her senses, to be modest, truthful, and attentive, to speak sweet words, should not be greedy. So the main point that is being spoken about, the basic principle for a chaste woman is to always be favorably disposed towards her husband. Because, and we were studying recently the third canto, 19th or 20th chapter. And in that it very clearly said that for spiritual progress, Grihastha life is very ideal. But when we talk about Grihastha life, we are talking about a spiritually inclined man and a chaste lady. When they combine, when they are together, by helping each other like that, they can progress spiritually, right? So when we talk about a chaste wife, obviously we mean that there has got to be, the husband has got to be somebody whom the wife can look up to, right? And that way then both progress spiritually. And then verse 29 actually gives the result of what happens then. If you are able to perform all your duties as a chaste wife, then the result is that you will go back to Godhead with the devotee husband, not alone. It says over here, a woman who serves her husband following the footsteps of Lakshmi surely returns back to Godhead with her devotee husband and lives happily in Vaikuntha. Now, this is the first time that I'm actually, and I didn't even do much research on it because before this I didn't notice it. This is the first time that I'm noticing that you go back with your husband, because I thought every soul is on their own individual journeys and we are not going to be together and we're going to be separate. But of course, we're not talking about normal conditioned souls. We are talking about another level of devotees who've reached this stage of pure devotional service. And for pure devotees, of course, the rules change, everything changes, right? It says here that I think it's from the purport, but I'm just reading from one of the notes. A fallen husband is one who is addicted to meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex. A chaste wife should not associate with such a fallen husband. Right? Similarly, a husband can separate himself from a woman who is not chaste as per the description of the Shastra. So it is very important that both, the husband and wife should follow the Vaishnav culture, the Vaishnav etiquette, should lead a grihastha life in the sense where they have Krishna in the center. We've studied in our previous sessions, I'm sure we've studied about a grihastha and a grihamedi. A grihamedi is just focusing on his own sense gratification, and he's only interested in fulfilling his desires. Whereas the grihastha, under the rules and regulations of the shastric injunctions, is able to perform his dharma of being a husband, a father, somebody who's even working, making money, but still keeping Krishna in the center. And that is the difference. So in Kali Yuga, Prabhupada says this, and the Shastra says that in Kali Yuga, it is better and easier to be a grihastha, to be able to move forward in your spiritual life, because sannyas ashram is not very easy. It is very, very difficult. It is very difficult, right? Right. So let's move on to the last set of verses. And the last set of verses, from verse 30 to 35, describes about the duties of mixed caste. And what does mixed class or mixed class? Mixed class means where you marry a woman of higher or lower class, like that. Okay. So there are two types. And the two types are pratiloma and anuloma. So pratiloma is where a woman of a high caste marries a man of a lower caste. That is called pratiloma. So pratiloma is not very good. Anuloma is good. Anuloma is where the woman of a low caste will marry a man of higher caste. Now in our Shastras, we've got example of this. You've perhaps not read, I mean, this one story, one Leela comes in the 9th canto, wherein Yayati, who was a Kshatriya, he got married to Devyani, who was a Brahmana. And when you will read, you'll see what exactly happens and what is the pastime there. And then one more example of Anuloma is where Kardamba Muni, who is a Brahmin, he marries Devahuti. Devahuti was a Kshatriya. And this combination of, a man who's of a higher caste, who's marrying a Kshatriya lady, is considered to be good, Now, it says that every class, every person, we discussed it, they have their own, how do you say, their own duties to perform, right? They have their own duties to perform. So, Mendra Prabhu, I wonder if you could share the screen for verse 30, please. And let's just read the translation. Yeah. So it says here, among the mixed classes known as Sankara, those who are not thieves are known as Antyavasai or Chandalas, dog eaters. And they also have their hereditary customs. See, this is very important to understand that everybody, whatever the group is, they have their own customs, they have their own rules and regulations to follow. And then the next verse will say, which is very important to understand, it says that it's so important to act as per your nature. So Narad Muni is saying to Yudhishthir Maharaj, my dear king, Brahmanas well conversant in Vedic knowledge have given their verdict that in every age, yuga, the conduct of different sections of people according to their material modes of nature is auspicious both in this life and afterlife. Now, this point is what we want to discuss. We want to understand this particular point, that whatever is your nature, whatever your propensity is, it is better to perform your own prescribed duty, although it may be inferior than the duties of others. Like the duty of a dog eater obviously is much inferior than the duty of a Brahmana. However, it is important that you perform your own duty, because by performing your own duty slowly, there will be purification. And then you will reach up to the stage where your heart is purified, your duties will then become purified, and you will reach the higher stage. Now, again, we can relate this to the verse that is quoted in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna in the Karma Yoga chapter, chapter 3, verse 35, Krishna says, and I'll just read the translation. It says, um, it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duties better than engaging in other duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Now, I want somebody to tell me, why is Krishna saying this to Arjuna at this particular moment? What is this verse signifying? What is he trying to tell Arjuna? Let's see if anybody. Krishna is telling Arjuna it is better to perform your own duty and fail rather than performing somebody else's duty. Why is Krishna saying this to Arjuna?
Is it because Arjuna said that he didn't want to fight, and he might want even beg and
Yes, exactly. So when Arjuna is saying that I do not want to fight, I would rather beg, or I would go in the jungles and I will do this and that and whatever else, that is where Krishna is instructing that it is better that you fight even if you fail. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you fail, but it is important that you perform your prescribed duty. And the same thing is being repeated in this particular verse also, that it is important that you perform your duty. See, again, I'll repeat the verse. It says, in every yuga, an occupation according to one's nature, svabhava, generally brings happiness. And what will happen is you will be happy, you will be satisfied, you will keep performing your duty, and by performing your duty slowly, you will raise yourself higher and higher, right? Then verse 32 talks about the results of doing this. And what does verse 32 say? If one acts according to one's nature, then gradually you will, like I said, purification starts happening. Okay, we've got this here. If one acts in this profession according to his position in the modes of nature, gradually he will come to the stage of Nishkama stage. What Nishkama Karma Yoga? Everybody remembers this. We studied this in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Nishkama stage, where you will eventually develop freedom from material desires. So you will be able to rise above the modes of material nature, and you will not be working under these modes. You will not no longer remain a puppet. Slowly, slowly, by just performing your duties, by acting according to your varna, acting according to your ashram, you will be able to reach a higher and higher stage. And sometimes, and this verse is very interesting, Dharmendra Prabhu, let's go to 33 and 34. The English translation we'll read. Does somebody want to read the English translation?
I can go.
Yes, please.
My dear king, if an agricultural field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases, and whatever seeds are sown there are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but a flood of ghee will. Similarly, overindulgence in lusty desires mitigates such desires entirely.
See what a beautiful analogy has been used over here. Drops of ghee on a fire will not extinguish the fire. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, that when brahmanas are performing yagyas, right? You keep putting drops of ghee, that is just to light the fire even more and more. And when you want to actually stop it, you pour the entire ghee and the fire then just subdues, right? You pour the entire. So, what is being said over here is that somebody who is very sinful and are attached to sinful activities, they are obviously born in lower classes, but they are then allowed to enjoy their sinful activities, because it may happen that by performing these activities constantly again and again, they may actually develop this, they become detestful to them, or they develop this hatred for these activities, and then they have the opportunity to be purified. So overindulgence as a solution is being quoted over here. And it's very funny. I don't know if you've ever tried this, but I know of some people, like, let's say they like a particular thing. Let's say they like a particular drink, right? And if you keep having that drink every single day, today, tomorrow, day after, constantly have it for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, there will come one time where you'll be like, oh my God, I'm fed up of it now. I can't have it anymore. So that is what is being said, overindulgence. Okay, people have lusty desires, or they have this, desire towards sinful activities or whatever. It's okay, let them be. See, again,
Mataji, can't hear you.
see the last verse, which is again Narad Muni is saying that Varna is based on qualities, not on birth. So see how many times this particular thing, this particular important point is being repeated again and again by Narad Muni. It's almost like as if Narad Muni knew that what's going to happen in the future. Of course he knew. Okay, let's read the English. Let's read the English actually. So it says, if one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. Again, these are not by birth, they are by the propensity that you're displaying, the guna that you have. So, not based on birth. If one who is born in a Brahmana family and he doesn't have any Brahmanical qualifications, he cannot be considered a Brahmana. And he's considered only a Brahma Bandhu. We've studied all these things also before. And if one is born in a Shudra, remember many times Prabhupada in his classes says, even if he is a Shudra, but if he knows Krishna and he understands Krishna, then he is a Guru. He becomes a Guru like that. Okay, so we are well on time. We've got 6 minutes, so I should stop here so that we can, if there are any questions or comments, then we can discuss that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mataji. That was
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So when we, like we're all born Shudra, that's what Prabhupada says. So as we get into Krishna consciousness, we're getting purified. So we are like kind of elevating ourselves to a Brahmana. Is that correct?
Yes, so Prabhupada said
so we develop qualities of a Brahmana by virtue of association and study of scriptures and so but we won't be doing those duties perfectly, so like like you just said, just stick to your
I get
Arjuna.
Okay, I get where you're coming from. And that is why it is very important to understand that for us in Krishna consciousness, it is important for us to become Vaishnavas. It doesn't matter whether we are becoming a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. It's, as Vaishnav. And when we are Vaishnav and develop all these Vaishnav qualities, then we will be able to perform all of these roles very nicely. because we will always keep Krishna in the center. Right? So what you're saying is that maybe, you know, I don't I won't be able to do those duties, and it is important to do my own duties. Agreed. Within our Vaishnav culture, let's say, I'm following Krishna consciousness, but within that, my propensity is that I have Kshatriya qualities, let's say. How can I use my Kshatriya qualities to enhance my Krishna consciousness even more? Correct? So the
Yes.
point, the idea is that we all should try to, yes, you know, go up and do whatever is important, but at the same time identify that I don't have Brahmana qualities. When I say Brahmana, what I mean is that I don't have some of the qualities that a Brahmana will have, like perhaps teaching or guiding or doing that. I don't have that. But I can develop the other qualities which are not just only for Brahmana, it is for a Vaishnava, which is sense control, compassion, mercy. You see what I mean? So, what Prabhupada was trying to tell us is that he's created this Krishna conscious society so that he can elevate all of us. We all are born Shudras, and we will, we are born Shudras, we are practicing, we are trying to become Vaishnavs. That is more important. Let's put it that way. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
Makes sense, yeah.
So also the next question is like, you know, husband and wife, you know, they're like getting on really fine and everything. Then one person becomes Krishna conscious, and then there's like a kind of friction, and for example, like meat eating or whatever. The husband may want to continue eating meat, but it's like saying, leave that person.
It says over here, yes, but also at the same time, Prabhupada very often used to say this, that your dharma as a wife, you have to remember that. Now, the thing is, you know, when it says over here, it says clearly that a chaste wife should not associate with such a fallen husband. Um, are we at that stage, first of all? Let's ask this question. Are we at that stage? You know, am I at that stage where I can say, I'm so pure that, you know, I can't. And if I'm at that stage of, you know, of that purity, we'll have so much tolerance that we'll be able to even tolerate all these things and still maintain my purity. You know, it's like that. So we are not at that stage. And Prabhupada used to say, Prabhupada says that your dharma as a wife is also very important. I've heard other acharyas give instructions to where there has been such cases, other gurus, I should say, from our lineage, where the instruction has been given that try to be more compassionate towards towards your husband. Try to help him to come to that stage, where you are at. So the focus should be that you are trying to help him. Of course, then when it comes to a stage there where you realize that it's just not going to work, so you have to then, like Prabhupada says, we all have to fly our own individual planes. But does it mean at the cost of neglecting all my family? No. So somewhere you have to maintain this kind of balance where, you can still perform your duties as a wife, but you have your own individual spiritual journey also. And I always think I will look for this exact reference, but I have heard this, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I have heard this, that Prabhupada's sister, Pishima, um, her husband used to have a meat, right? And when she went to Prabhupada with this problem, and she also had altar, she was a Vaishnava, and Prabhupada said to her that you fulfill your duty as a wife. So if you have to cook for him, you cook, but then you have a shower, clean everything, and then you cook for your deities. Now, I've been meaning to search for this reference if I can find it. And if I am wrong and anybody on this forum has heard otherwise, please do correct me. But this is something that is in my mind. I've heard it from somebody or read it somewhere. I'm not sure. But this is what I remember. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay. Before we go to Janakanya Mataji, Shakti Prabhu, I noticed that you had a question on the chat. So would you like to ask that question, please? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna Mataji, the pranams. Amazing class. Thank you so much for your time today. So I had a question which I posted when you were talking about it earlier.
Yes.
And the 30 qualities that I mentioned that as humans we should develop, that was really interesting. And my question was that, do we develop those 30 qualities? Is that something we should be doing consciously and with a conscious effort? Or is it something that naturally comes about as a byproduct of bhakti?
That's a very interesting question and very nice, very thought provoking. Now, what I would answer it. There's two points to this. In the beginning stages of our Krishna conscious journey, this is something that we will have to be conscious of because we are not aware of these things. So, in the beginning, yes, we should consciously try to have these qualities of, okay, I should try and control my senses, I should be more tolerant, or all of these qualities. So, yes, in the beginning, it is a practice. Because think about this, like all of us from our own journeys. When I look back at my journey, what was I doing at that time? When it comes to, let's say, cleanliness also means about what I'm eating. Was I eating the right kind of things? No. So when I started my Krishna conscious journey, it was a practice. And then over some time, now it's become a byproduct of bhakti that I have developed, or I am trying to develop in association or devotees, this love for Krishna, where slowly these qualities are becoming a byproduct because I'm not interested in things which will kind of hold me back from my devotion to Krishna, like that. So, yes, initially we start with a practice that, let me practice this, let me practice sense control, let me control my tongue, let me control my mind, my thoughts, let me be more tolerant, more compassionate. So, I'm practicing all these things. And over a period of time, because you've been practicing and because you're associating with devotees and performing devotional service, then these qualities become like inherent to you. Not all, perhaps, not all, because if it was all, then we would be pure devotees. But many of them, you will see it manifesting in you, many of the qualities. Does that answer your question, Shakti
It
Prabhu?
does, yeah. Thank you so much. Kartik month is coming up soon. So yeah, I've seen devotees, they, do like a Kartik vrat that they're going to chant X amount of rounds or something. But this list is really interesting because I think it's one of the things that you can pick some of those and try and consciously, like, try and kind of drive towards that.
100%.
Yeah, so you just got me thinking. Thank you. Thanks.
No, that's a very good, Shakti Prabhu. It's got me thinking as well. Let's pick up some of these qualities and let's make a vow that for Kartik Mantra, I will try to, focus on these qualities. Interesting. Very nice.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Janakanya Mataji, would you like to ask your
Hare
question, please?
Krishna Mataji, thank you for a wonderful class as usual. I got at this deep level that you discuss these subject has actually confused me even more. Actually, well, I'm thinking about these rituals or this kind of qualities that was listed about the caste system has caused more divide in community than anything else. That's how I feel, and I feel that it was before and it's after, where we are in the after um, era. So in a way, I think of Prabhupada and Mahaprabhu giving opportunity to people who didn't have those qualities as Brahman yet. So it's a different story, isn't it? And
Yes.
if we didn't have that opportunity, where would we be as Krishna conscious ISKCON members? And I feel that the unfairness, and I tell you why I feel so strong about it, because there was a documentary once on a poor Indian boy who really worked hard at getting somewhere in life, and he became a courier, and he took this British family down in the wilds in India, showing them and very very lonely, isolated piece of work, but very highly educated. He educated himself, and he was able to provide an amazing you know work he was doing with them. Took them to his family poor village in India, and he was working really hard day and night away from the family, and he hardly made any money enough to feed them. But that's because although he was doing the same job as a higher caste, he did not get the wage that he should because of the caste. And that really made me feel what an unfair thing. And those days, like when the landlord used to lend a piece of land or whatever to the poor people, and forever they were paying for it and never really ever managed to drop in the ocean in that payment. So all those kind of heart-wrenching thing that I hear about and I experience, and I think it's so sad that that
So I
we
will
still
speak about a few things,
yeah.
Janaki. Um, because I've grown up in India and I've firsthand seen some of these things. Now, when you are talking about these caste systems and how sad it is, the problem is Krishna, when he created, and Krishna created this, and he says it himself that I have created this. He created this, but the problem is that we human beings misused it. And why we misused it?
Mm,
The Brahmanas did not want any other class to read or study the scriptures. Why? Because if they would have read the scriptures, very clearly this verse says, I am creating this caste system. It is not based on birth, it is based on your karma. Now it's very simple, very straightforward. As soon as other people would read this, what would happen? The Brahmanas wouldn't have a job, so to say. What were the Brahmanas doing? How were they making their livelihood? By telling the other people, telling the other class, the other society that, oh, you need to do this yagya for getting maybe rain, or do getting good crops this year. You need to do this yagya, right? By doing this yagya, the Brahmanas would get money from them. So the problem started because you put yourself in the picture and you've taken Krishna out of the picture. You see, if
mm,
all the other classes were able to read the Bhagavad Gita, let's say, you know these problems would not occur, but the Brahmanas would not allow other classes to even enter the temple or read the scriptures. So it was all selfish, self-centered, self-motivated things, and that is happening even today. Whether
mm,
you call it class, caste system, or you call it class system, or you call it whatever, it is happening today also. The divisions have changed in different ways, but there is exploitation happening everywhere. Either it is because of your birth, it is because of your qualifications, it is because of the money that you have. So it is happening everywhere. And that's how Kali Yuga is, unfortunately. That's how Kali Yuga is.
mm,
Because see, because Krishna says very clearly, I don't want you to enjoy in the material world. I am going to send calamities time and time again for you to remember that this is not my permanent place. This is not where I want to be. This is not the place that I deserve to be. As an eternal soul, I don't want this. I do not want to be unhappy. I want to be happy, and to be happy, I need to leave this place. In the prison house, a prisoner is punished, right? So this material world is a prison house for all of us, correct?
yeah, they're very correct. And but you have another school of thought that says Krishna wants us to be happy. That's why he gives us this opportunity. So now it's like seasonal. These talks that are coming through now about this is a prison, so you're never going to be happy in it.
Never going to be happy.
Yeah. So
Krishna says that very clearly in the Bhagavatam. Dukkhalaya Shashvatam. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says this place is full of dukkha. Dukkhalaya Shashvatam. There will be dukkha, whether it is miseries given by material nature, whether it is given by other living entities, or by your own self. But there will be miseries, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly.
Mm.
Right?
So one good thing I'll take home now is that Krishna is, we don't see Krishna in it. So our thoughts just take us away
Yes.
from the reality. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We need to see Krishna in everything that is
Yes.
in our lives, doesn't matter what it is. And when we start seeing Krishna in everything that is happening, then we also start thinking Krishna is seeing the bigger picture. Right now, I'm only seeing the trailer of my life.
Mm.
Krishna has seen the whole picture. And so the end will always be good. So we just trust Krishna.
Thank you very much for explaining that. Thank you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. If I can ask, basically, how do you really recognize what your duty is? You may perceive what your duty could be and go in one direction, and not acknowledge whether that is your duty or not. So, what would you say
So,
to that?
Dharmendra Prabhu, the thing is, if you just see all around you, you will notice that, people work very hard and struggle for many, many years, study and, have this goal and that goal and reach what they want to be. Let's say, I want to be a software engineer and I've done it and I've, worked for a few years. And after a few years, they realize I'm just not happy here. I'm going to leave all of this and just go become a photographer, a wildlife photographer. So the point is that sometimes we just get in the rat race thinking this is what is the right thing to do. So it is very important right from a young age, if it is possible. And we are talking about like material solutions. Of course, there are spiritual solutions also, but not all of us are spiritualists. But material solutions is back home in India, they used to have a lot of these kind of sessions where I can't remember what they are called now anymore, but they used to do these kind of tests and different kinds of ways to kind of understand what your propensity is. And I'll be honest with you, when I was in year 10, so this must have been god knows how many years back, the same test was done for us also, all of us students. And at that time, aptitude test it was called, aptitude. And at that time, we didn't want to believe the results because we want something. And we want something so badly that we don't care about who's saying what. Let's say, like, your relative, your friend, or somebody will say, you know what, but I think you're more suited to this. And you'll say, you know what, I don't want to listen to you. Because your mind is set on achieving this one particular thing. So I think it's very important to take a step back for parents, for children, for everybody. And schools, I think, are doing that these days. Have these kind of aptitude test and think and see whether this child is suited to this thing or this child is suited to this thing or not, and give them that space to explore. Perhaps oh, do I like this? Do I like this? It's actually over here. At least you have the chance that you're a little older when you're taking decisions about your career. In India, it's very, very early and sometimes very confusing, and that's why you have so many people who have done things and are in a career which they absolutely hate, but because they are now become prisoners of that particular career, they can't change. They can't change. So uh, fingers crossed things will change. Younger people these days are becoming more and more how do you say, informed. They're not making choices based on what everybody else is doing. They are making choices based on what they like. And so hopefully we are seeing that trend where people are more satisfied with what they're doing. So yeah, I think it's important that we individually identify, like what I like doing. And that might happen very early on, that might happen a little late also, because I remember very clearly that I was perhaps in my second or third year of my graduation, and I was helping some classmates with something, and I realized then how much I love teaching. It wasn't before that. Before that I was going with the flow, you do your year 12 and you do your graduation and whatever else, but it's at that time that I realize I love being a teacher. And so as soon as I realize that, I work towards that goal. Then, okay, to be a lecturer, what do I need to do? So, okay, I need to do this, I need to do study, I need to get this qualification. And that's how, so that's where I was, and I loved every bit of it.